Welcome back, one and all, to the EMEA Masters 2023 Summer Group Stage. We are rounding out the technically last game of Group C. It is going to be Karmine Corp versus Nativz. It's a very simple equation right now, Nymera. It's very simple. Karmine Corp, you win and you're in. You will be second seed. 4 and 2 will be your scoreline. Nativz will have to wait until next spring. However, for Nativz, if they are to win, they will force a tiebreaker versus Karmine Corp. So not only do they have to do it once, they got to do it twice.
They lost to Karmine Corp the first time around, so a win here gets them to a 1-1 head-to-head, which then, of course, gives us the tiebreaker. We would have an extra game, which will be played immediately after this game as the last game of the day. But this is how things have gone throughout the entirety of this group. We've seen that Nativz, they have had some good games. They even against the lost game they had against, of course, the rampant PG National squad of Matchgo. They brought it to a late game. They had some heroic moments. This game against Nativz, a little bit easier. But we saw here, this was so close to being a heroic moment for them.
It was, and the funny thing is that regardless of the result of this game, it kind of just changed one or two things. It could have meant that they only had to win once against Karmine Corp, but now, unfortunately, because they lost, it meant they had to win twice. So it does mean they're still in with a chance, but I mean, look, Karmine Corp, they kind of lost against Matchgo. It does feel like we have a little bit of a rock, paper, scissors almost going into it. Of course, Click mentioned it as well. The Nativz are a little bit of their kryptonite right there. They still beat them twice in the group, but it does feel like it's kind of Karmine Corp beat Nativz. Nativz look very good against Matchgo. Matchgo beat Karmine Corp. And that's kind of how that whole song and dance of this group has gone.
And just to consider the possibility, not saying it's going to happen, but if Karmine Corp were to go out in groups, how unexpected would that be? This team is the team which every LFL fan talks about. Whether they are the heroes or the villain of their story, you can't not talk about this team. Every single, previously EU Masters, but now it's EMEA Masters tournament, they have participated in, they have won.
Yes.
They have won from play-ins, they have won from groups, they have won whenever they have been here. The fact that it is coming down to their last games of this tournament, or in this group stage rather, to decide whether they're even going into the knockouts, into the top 8, that is not a situation they would have seen themselves in. Matchco have blown everyone's sense of scale out of proportion.
Yeah, they really have. Now, we got to see what happens coming into this next game now as well. We're going to see what we can do here for the side of Nativz and what they can build up to. Because again, I still maintain that Karmine Corp are going to be pretty heavy favorites into the one. The last time these two guys fought against each other, it wasn't exactly close either. So Karmine Corp looking much stronger in that regard as well. So we'll see if they can have a repeat of that kind of performance.
So I think the issue with playing a scaling kind of composition against the type of team like Karmine Corp is much like when we said it against Matchco as well, and Hipbrain even said this earlier in the day. If Nativz play the way Nativz played, they're going to struggle versus these teams because they have playmakers. Saken in particular from the mid lane is really, really good. We saw them pick up the Silas even in a lost game. They picked up the Silas and they did really well at that point to force plays earlier than the other team would have really liked to do so. So now we're looking at this Nativz comp. If you get Saken or another playmaker, you have to feel a little bit worried. Sejuani first lock-in though does give Stefan the ability to take away one of those earlier junglers from Synchro.
Yeah, just get himself the Sejuani, a nice early engaged champion, gives them also a nice little bit of kind of tankiness frontline as well, should they want to go towards what they have felt most comfortable with, which is that late game scaling. So right now, you're going to see them go bang in straight away. We know what Kalista can do with that Zeri, with the Rel as well as a bit of a flex between Syncroft and Targamas. They're feeling pretty confident at the moment.
Having that jungle support flex is basically only Maokai and Rel which do it, and you're on red side, you can hold that into the very last bit of the draft if you want to. No reason to say you can't pick up a priority jungler or support on 3 as well, though, if you particularly want to do for Karmine Corp. This is a little bit different now, though. Jax Sejuani, very strong as a chop jungle 2v2. It's not easy to survive that one. And on the other side, if you're going to play towards that top side now with Sejuani and that Jax, the Xayah is safe in the bot side most of the time.
Most of the time. We will see Denvoxen and not.
Time out in the caveat.
We always got to give ourselves the caveat, but you are going to get themselves that Xayah. I do like this Poppy hover, and honestly, I wouldn't mind getting a locked in because now you've got yourself very little room to breathe here as the Sejuani and the Jax when you're trying to go for those big kind of backline fights. Yeah.
There is flex potential here as well. You could have the Rel being locked in to support the Poppy into jungle. You can also have the Rel in jungle and then the Poppy top, or just the Rel support Poppy top and then a random jungler thrown in. So Karmine Corp using their flexibility very well. You have strong front line already. The Poppy, as you said, can deal with the Dash champions of that Sejuani and the Jax. And typically, the Poppy is good into the Jax in top lane as well. It's something that we saw a little bit in the LPL towards the very end of summer, and some other regions across the world, so, but particularly there. So Cabochard, as one of the greater top laners in the ERL circuit, if he wants to take that matchup and really counter this Jax and never stop them coming online, I think the Poppy is very good in their hands.
Yeah. We can talk about the kind of like I suppose the stakes of how everything kind of comes about on this one here, because don't forget, not only do Nativz have to win once, they have to win twice. If it goes 3-3, they have to take a tiebreaker then. But then you're starting to think about confidence, and you're starting to think about the kind of whole different setup of things. This is a Karmine Corp that I think everyone is expecting to win. Everyone's kind of looking at it and saying, look, you've got the guys back, you've got the top three coming in here with Cabochard, Syncroft, and Seiken. You are building towards this team having the kind of, success it did already have. But if it starts to get a bit rocky, I mean, you're looking at teams like Matchco taking them down, Wildcats, the reigning champions. That's when expectations start to get a little bit shifted. So I want to see a competent and complete performance coming out from Karmine Corp against Nativz today.
And what will really help them do that, they can take all of the time in the world for this last pick, which can be top lane, it can be jungle, it can be support. They can do exactly what they want with it. The only two champions which are going to be locked in their positions are that Neeko and the Zeri. Technically, there's an outside chance that you have the Neeko jungle, but I'm not going to throw that one on the table just yet. So that leaves Nativz in a bit of a pickle to say, okay, so what are we doing with this? They have themselves the Braum locked in to deny some of that engage. I think that makes sense, regardless of where they're on the map. Neeko, Poppy, and of course that Rel, they're going to be engaging on top of you. Something like that Braum, you hold the doors shut for your carries.
The door shut indeed. We'll see what they want to kind of go for here. Now, I wouldn't be surprised to see Vladdy kind of take up this Syndra, just giving him something that can go for, or maybe we see something go a little bit differently. So as you say, the classic does mean they're a little bit lacking on the old AP front, but it does give them a hell of a lot more engage options to kind of go in from those flank options.
You don't have a hyper tank locked in for the side of Karmine Corp yet, and maybe they think that they are going to lock in that Poppy towards that top side, so they're not going to give themselves another chance to have a top lane hyper tank. So that means that you don't have to worry as much about the full AD. Of course, Yone has a bit of magic damage for every other auto attack, and the W being half and half as well. They are going to choose to use that flexibility to get another jungler in. So Rel support, Poppy top, and Trundle into the jungle. So you have the Sejuani, which is going to get shredded by the Trundle. What that often means that you will often not opt into Aftershock now. You'll go for the phase rush instead. And it means that if you are playing front to back and you're looking to kill that first tank target, suddenly that Trundle gives you an extra Last Whisper or Void Staff for everyone on your team.
Yeah, it does mean as well that you're kind of having, as you say, that kind of mitigation into something like the Sejuani. Trundle is kind of one of those old school counters that we saw, because you go with the Aftershock, you then pop the Subjugate, lots of different things going to happen, and your Sejuani gets bursted down far quicker than you could have ever managed it. But Nativz have built themselves up, honestly, a composition that I wasn't really expecting. They're expecting to kind of be able to kind of go to those side lanes, build around those kind of skirmishes, rather than a full 5v5 in that late game.
Shikari is a very notable Jax player from some of his history, though. He's no slouch on taking up the reins, but he does need to. I guess I maybe remember him a little bit more for stuff like the Jax and when he played Sejuani top, stuff like that. But
he's been around for so long.
He has, and
he's been around since it was the ESL Premiership. Like
the stuff like that, yeah, gosh, and the Forge of Champions and the Four Nations. There's so many tournaments I've seen him. It's like, he was back even then. He's been around for so long. Stefan and Vladdy, much younger players on this roster. I remember. I think it was Stefan on the, I'm trying to remember, it was the Veneer roster back then, and he was one of the real jump-up junglers of that time. Vladdy on Riddle, similarly, in that same season as well in 2022. He was a breath of fresh air. Believe it or not, he plays a lot of Vladimir. Couldn't tell by the name. But these are so many, you've got this mix of old and new, whereas on the other side, I suppose you have a bit of that too, but looking at the amount of veterancy and now ex-LEC talent as well on this roster, it is so hard not to respect that from the LFL champions.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that the new up-and-coming AD carry as well, a young star that I believe like K-Corp were like, as soon as he was eligible to be allowed to be on the roster, they were like, in you come, sir. Welcome to the team. And we are very confident in making you one of the next franchise players in our situation. But I mean, like, Karmine Corp are one of those teams that they have an energy about them. And the fans, the blue wall, they're so incredibly passionate. And you kind of, I will say that even though it's fantastic to have that almost sixth man going for yourself, it does feel like sometimes those pressures can get to you. And again, this is going to be one of those games where we'll see if it gets to them.
There was a video put out on the EMEA Masters Twitter account as well, which I thought was really quite funny, and like it tells the mentality, right? Where Syncroft was asked, you know, why should you watch Karmine Corp? And he says, because we're Karmine Corp. And you know what? For most ERL fans, they know exactly what you mean. You can't ignore this team. So Nativz, with a chance to take, well, they'd have to take 2 back-to-back games, but the chance to maybe put them out of group stage, that would be huge for the NLC champions themselves. But Karmine Corp, I don't think they expected to ever get pushed this far.
I mean, don't think anyone, even outside of Karmine Corp, expected them to be right up into the final hour, looking to try and get themselves up to a 2nd seed as well against Matchco. I think a lot of people maybe looked at this group and said, all right, cool, we'll see that these 2 teams go. And the thing is as well, you're at 2nd seed. We could see Karmine Corp versus Wildcats in the first round of quarterfinals, which would be unheard of. A lot of people were kind of saying, look, that's the finals, but I mean, look, it's not to be so far. And the thing is, they haven't even confirmed their quarterfinals just yet, so we're still getting a little ahead of ourselves.
And, you know, all of these teams are fighting for that final spot and a place to, you know, a place to play alongside the LEC season finals as well at Montpellier. It would be in France. It would be in front of the blue wall for Karmine Corp if they were to make it. Of course, every team playing towards it, but it feels like the ability to play in front of the French crowd, it will, of course, mean that much more to the French teams to have that journey stopped short. I don't know how that would feel for these players. Well, I do. It would feel very disappointing.
Pretty bad. Pretty bad, I think is the word we're looking for right now, but we'll see what ends up happening right now. For the moment, both teams very happy just to kind of farm this one up. Of course, the Poppy pretty much going to be perma-pushing into the Jax until he gets up to his first few items and he can actually pressure. Gets a couple more points into his counter-strike, so that's up a little bit more so we can try and pressure it out. But Syncroft on a full clear. Going to have a fairly decent time of just kind of trading it off. And again, both junglers on opposite sides of the map means they are very happy to just kind of take what they have right now, just build this one up. I will say, I'm not quite sure of the ruling here, but the ruling in LPL is you're not allowed to actually use the Nicocopter because it actually extends the duration of it. Yeah, so Seiken, he might have to be forced to flash here. Nope, does dodge away there from the flail and does end up going for it. Targamas and Syncroft now moving forward. They are going to be able to have twists here as well, maybe forcing a flash out, but there's so much single target CC being piled onto the Sejuani. First blood over to Karmine Corp, but that's exactly what you want to be seeing. The consistency of this trio just coming together.
It's an overstep from Stefan trying to use that melee synergy in the mid lane, but they can't even force the flash out of Seiken on that Nico. So really good early strike from Syncroft, and it's not going to get any easier for Stefan. Of course, we've already talked about it. It's a counter matchup of the Trundle into that Sejuani, and Vladdy is really having a tough time here.
Very much so. You can see him there trying to use the Soul Bound. Targamas being a bit cheeky there with the Hex Flash, but shall not be able to find anything else off of it. Just extra little bit of harassment. And that's the thing, the Yone's great until he's not. There's no mana here on Cabo Shard, and now he may be forced to flash away. He is, Stefan. Honestly, I don't even think he was in range with that Q anyway, so he flashes for flashes. And the game's already about 1,000 gold ahead for Karmine Corp. They're answering all of the questions being asked of them, and yeah, that's just Vladdy not expecting Targamas to sit around here for so long, but he's getting taken so much! One more minion! Oh, it's execution! He didn't take any damage!
Vladdy doesn't get a single tap on him, so no gold goes over. This is the product of an excellent first few levels in the Nico versus Yone matchup from Seiken. Seiken zoned Vladdy off the wave, got a slow push back to him when Stefan was looking to gank him as well, and then it finally culminates in so many good trades that they can bring a full dive in mid lane. Diving mid lane is not that easy in the current meta. You very rarely see it, and yes, Targamas goes down. Doesn't take any damage for it though, so it's not even anything given over.
Well, I will say, little thing given over. They do end up getting themselves the experience for Vladdy, which does give him level 6 first, and that's why you're seeing it, and that's why I bring it up. But that's all it is. You still get the experience even in death should someone die.
I will take the 700 gold.
You know what? I'm trying to be a positive man, all right? You know, you have to take your little wins here. But, I mean, look, like, it's a 20 CS lead in mid lane.
My favorite band is Linkin Park. I do not know positivity.
But again, like, it's kind of Karmine Corp doing what Karmine Corp do well, which is dominating in the laning phase. Like, across the board, they have advantages.
And that used to be the special feature of Karmine Corp. It was like, well, you're just going to be down 30 CS in every lane. Good luck with that. And I don't think they've been at that same level from their championship performances in regards to that laning. I still think that they've had themselves some really special turnaround team fights in their engages too. They are by no means a weak team, but seeing a bit of a return to that laning phase, dominance from the likes of Seiken, I'm sure it's a refreshing sight to see for many people who haven't seen this team for a long time, especially since they've not been on the EMEA Masters stage.
See if they want to go for something in this bot side. Again, I was going to say, like, the fact that we had Targum was just kind of sitting there in mid lane just for so long doesn't really gain anything on the bot side. Actually, you know, not really losing out in any sense of form from the side of Karmine Corp. Kaliste just basically sitting there, just soaking up all that XP. And I mean, it makes a lot of sense because you do... Yeah, hi. We had a pause. It makes a lot of sense as well because you have a Braum on that bot side. It's not really going to be able to punish a Zeri just kind of sitting there as long as she has her dash.
Yeah, and... You know, we've seen the Braum have a lot of use. We saw Click play it a little earlier in the day. But the thing about that Braum is, like, you need to be playing on the back foot with it, or it really doesn't do that much when you're going forwards, unless you're into a very melee range composition where your passive is so easy to apply and you just get stuck in there with your huge amount of HP and your shield doing a lot of work. But I think in this game, you know, I'm very interested to see how Karmine Corp look to keep pushing the advantage. I think Seiken having such an advantage on the Nico is obviously going to be a point of concern. The thing about Native team composition is when you lock in a Braum, you need some extra engage elsewhere. Jax is very conditional engage, and if you're going to do like the typical bin or like kind of flash 4-man counter strike, you think, okay, that works, but you're not going to get them consistently. So drawing out a single target.
Yeah, I was going to say, is like you don't get consistently as one of the best top laners in the world, and like arguably the best.
So it's like, okay, right, so that's not that easy to do. So you need this Yone to be an engage threat. It's not as often that you see engaged threats in the mid lane, or rather, we're seeing them a lot this season, but they sometimes come and they go, right? We've seen Annie, we've seen Nico on the other side, right? That Yone needs to be potent enough to be in the engage, because you don't get to go with stasis and Azonias after you press your ultimate key. You don't get to kind of have that same degree of safety. We've even seen Emenes in NC9 in the finals that they played against NRG. He tried to be that role as that Yone. If you mess up the engage, things get very, very bad. If you don't have enough gold, things get very, very bad for you. Having Vladdy lose so much gold and dying so early, that's a big hit to Natives, especially if they want to scale into larger engaging team fights.
Yeah, we do have a slight update as well. It was an FBS issue, so hopefully that will be resolved very, very shortly, and we will be jumping...
Valorant again.
Exactly like I said. We'll be jumping straight back into game. Nicely timed out there for us. And we'll see what kind of ends up happening. It's about a 1,500 gold lead. It's slowly growing bit by bit. This mid lane getting harder and harder to kind of deal with, I suppose, in a lot of senses. But it is going to become about the opportunities that you find here on the side of Nativz. But for Karmine Corp, very happy with it. Oh wow, 2-for-1 deal on the strike. They will jump in here onto the mid lane, try and maybe get something down here. Vladdy taking a hell of a lot of damage. We'll trade it back fairly nicely, but I mean, it still sucks. He has gone straight in on top of it, though. He's going to look for the kill. One more auto, and he gets it. Vladdy with the 1v1. Seiken needs to respect this mid lane.
Vladdy stormed onto the pro scene with the likes of his Yone on Riddle Esports last year, and now with Nativz winning the NLC, coming in against Karmine Corp, those inevitable Titans, has been under a lot of pressure. That solo kill and that whole conversation we said about Vladdy needing to be strong to engage for his team, that is so helped out by that solo kill.
Massive, massive solo kill there. And again, no teleport on Seiken. That wave gets pushed in. He's able to get a free reset. Let's have a look at this one here, because again, Vladdy just kind of saying, look, I have the ward to the top side. I don't feel threatened in a 2v1.
And when you're playing against a Yone, every single mid laner who has played against this champion knows that when you fight against a Yone and he has E, you just feel awful about it. The increasing movement speed gives him so much to take down, and that opens up the kill trade afterwards. Vladdy just about winning it out.
And they get the Rift Herald off that as well. They're going to turn back this one on top of the Poppy as well. See if they can get on top of him. There's going to be a soul unbound. Cabochard does end up getting taken out here. Natives are starting to build up a bit of momentum. Seiken and Targamas just have to walk away from this entire situation. And all of a sudden, 2 swift kills. And again, it's still the early game, but K-Corp, you got to wake up.
That's a very dangerous amount of gold to give over. 2 kills onto the Yone you've tried to keep down. Yes, there's a 20 CS lead. Yes, you dove them early. That has now been largely negated. Vladdy is in this game, and with a Herald to put down, there's a lot of gold in the bank as well that Natives can throw at them.
This is the thing. We talk about it. It's such an intangible thing. It's like, look, on paper, all of these different things, you can say a million billion ways that the game should go, that plate should go down, and unfortunately will not be going over to Shikari. But the thing is the human element. It's the human element of the game that you can't quantify it. Yes, you can say draft, you can say on paper this player is ranked #1, this player is a Masters player, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Sometimes people make mistakes, sometimes people turn into gods.
And the elves in the back rear of production, they are showing us something that is quantifiable, though, which is that total gold. Vladdy is up there at the top of the table alongside Seiken. So despite Seiken getting all of that early resources, Vladdy's caught up now. So thank you very much on production end for that one. I think that's going to be something we will continue to track. If Vladdy gets to have those huge engages, it is going to be absolutely disastrous for Karmine Corp trying to protect themselves. So Voxney forced to ult in the spot side.
Yeah, it does draw the feathers back to get a little bit of damage down there, so wasn't a little bit of a sticky situation. Flash does get used here by Targamas, which is instantly going to have to be used here as well by the side of Denvoxna. We will have themselves a pretty easy time of defending it, and this is why you take the Braum. It means that those engages are far harder to kind of go for it. Stefan's going to walk straight in to the Trundle, who now knows he's there. They were sitting on top of a ward, so not exactly a surprise for the K-Corp jungler, who's going to go straight back towards this dragon and get themselves up to 2 on the trot.
It's going to be a match cell as well. Cabashard just putting Shikari away from the
Great
tower.
tracking from the observers.
So he does end up losing the cannon minion and allows a demolish to come through. That is such a asshole move, Cabashard, but it works. It gives them that slight advantage. It's a good play.
It's a good play. Gets you a little bit more, and again, it's still 1,500 gold. And Voxna does not have
no flash, no
flash
ult.
available, no ult. He's going to get caught out by the Pillar of Ice, and they're going to be able to burn him down, no problem whatsoever. Twist as well. You just can't walk up to there, and that's the small mistakes that Nativz are making. You knew the dragon just went down. You can't push up.
Exactly. Dragon just gone. You get a global emote for that one. It tells you that it's been killed, and Karmine Corp were on the bot side of that map. Denvoxna had just been forced to use that ult and the flash just before that point, so no ability to get out of that one position next to the wall for the Trundle Pillar, as you'll see in this point. I don't know.
It's a mistake.
Maybe they're trying to play a game on the recalls. Maybe they think someone had recalled at that point. It feels like it wouldn't have completed even by that point, though. Showed on that wave. Mistiming, misplay.
Yep, it's just straight up a mistake there from Nativ's bot side, unfortunately. Look, it's not the biggest end in the world. Yes, they do end up a couple of kills. They are now down by 2,500 gold instead, but it's not going to be the end of it. They need to get item completions. That's the big thing. That's kind of stopping them from doing much right now. Cabashard knows exactly where Stefan is. They do pop the Blossom, or excuse me, the Scryer's Bloom to make sure they know exactly where he is, and he now knows that he's been caught out. They are starting to move up here. Targamas is kind of isolated.
Targamas has no flash.
He has no flash, but should be able to crash down over the top of the thing, but now they're going to have to drop this Rift Herald ASAP. You can see Cabashard getting caught out here. He has flash available to him, but can he get out? That is the question. He flashes away, jump back on with the lead strike. One more Q. No, he gets taken out before it all can happen. The Glacial Fissure is good to try and stop Cabashard from getting any kind of cavalry. Selgin gets exhausted, and now Vladdy coming in, looking for the ultimate, does get the stun down alongside on top of Syncroft. They're trying to just burn these all down. 3-man knockup. Vladdy gets himself a kill, and they give another to Sejuani. Seiken may have to burn his own flash here. He's getting very, very low. They will get this Rift Herald charge, but Nativz are making a hell of a meal of it just to try and get some gold.
And who is the hero again? It's Vladdy from the mid lane, despite the early game dive. How many times can we mention this? This Yone is becoming a problem. Manages to clean up something. You can see that Cabashard is being an issue in himself towards that top side. Great play to survive the 1v2 for such a long time. We're going to go see a replay of it just after this point. This is after he's already, toyed with Shikari under his turret, doing very well in the counter matchup of that Poppy versus the Jax, and manages to buy so much space that the teleport can come through. In any other situation where Vladdy doesn't get as much value, this would have been a game-changing play from Seiken, kind of flipping this top side. But Vladdy does get into the fight, being able to walk up with the melee synergy between the Sejuani and then also just the auto attacks from that Braum completely runs over the fight afterwards.
Yeah, you can see Vladdy is the carry right now. He's kind of saying, look, I need to be everywhere on the map. I need to be rotating as fast as I can. He's got himself a Kraken Slayer. He's only about 300 gold ahead, but even though he has all his kills, he's still about 40 CS behind, so it has not been, or maybe just 30, but it's still not been a great time for him. But first item completions pretty much across the board. We might see another fight happening in 30 seconds.
Might do as well. Can Vladdy get to that kind of fight? That's the kind of important thing which Nativz will need to take into account at this point. Your AD carry is 1.4k gold behind with a cull popped. It is not an easy situation for Denvoxna. So Vladdy, only 18 years old, what a burden he has on his shoulders to try and be the linchpin to this composition with the gold he has.
A little 11 on both mid laners. You'd like that for your top laners as well. Steadfast Presence doing what it does best. It's stopping the Jax from taking any kind of favorable trades. Syncroft And Seiken now joined by Targamas as they now realize that Stefan is here. Twist a little bit behind the play, but they throw it out. That does land on the Seiken, and now Seiken might be taken out straight away. They get a 3-man pop blossom, but can they kill him off before anything else? I don't know if he can. Finally, they take down the Vladdy, and he cannot get himself anything else off of this. The top or bot lane turret did go down while this was all happening, and now the Zeri wants to join in, wants to be a part of this equation. But I mean, look, you can see Nativz, they want to try and make this one work. They almost had it, but it's just not quite enough damage.
It was one auto attack, I think, off of Braum passive, which might have been the kill. Seiken had flash, Seiken gets out, Karmine Corp get themselves a 1 fight, they get themselves a Herald. This gold lead, which is already significant for this timestamp in the game, is going to get even larger after this point. Watch how close this gets. I think Vladdy overuses that E. If he has E for this fight, it is so much easier. He can get in range a little bit earlier and stop Seiken from ulting in the first place. One stack off from that Braum ultimate would have been so much nicer to get them stunned just a little bit further away from that wall, but they can't shut him down in time. Seiken playing his HP bar to the limit.
Yeah, really just kind of pushing the ladder right there, and that does mean that the Rift Herald gets confirmed over to the side of K-Corp, and they have it now for this Dragon fight in 3 seconds time. Seiken getting a little bit cheeky. He has 10 seconds till his ult, so I don't expect there to be much happening here. We'll throw out a fair bit of damage there on the Twist, but with that Braum door being shoved up into his face should be fine. There is a TP available for Shikari, so I mean they could maybe let this one go, but it would put you onto Ocean Soul Point if you saw how close that last fight went.
Okay. So, there is a TP on Vladdy, there's a TP on Shikari, they're using it. I was wondering if Vladdy might flank with it. Vladdy doesn't have flash, but he does have ult and his first item completed.
No Glacial Prison either, no flash onto the Sejuani, who gets punted away. Not going to be a part of this fight now. It's a 4v5. You can see the Zeri and the Xayah having a little bit of a movement there. Kavashar gets stunned up, but he's getting back before this Dragon gets taken away. So now you don't have the Poppy ultimate to make this one work. It could be a straight up 50-50. Syncroft going to try and maybe make this one work. Goes in, stolen away. Nativz going with the Glacial Storm. It's going to be good to try and make this one work. Oh my lord! That was an absolutely insane ultimate coming out from Vladdy. Your fate is sealed. 4 kills. The Dragon. Syncroft has nowhere to go. He needs to get stunned up, but they get a full ace of this. Is a huge momentum shift.
Vladdy does it again in every fight where he has found his big ultimate. Nativz have won the fight despite the gold lead before this, despite Karmine Corp trying to put down the rest of the map and successfully doing so against Voxner in particular. They can't escape the engage. Vladdy does it again.
Vladdy is putting this team on his back. Look at this ultimate from the under, because they get the Magnastorm out, but then he just gets across all the members.
The thing is, like, the flash from the Jax also adds into this too. Both the solo laners reaching that point. This is without the flash from the One as well. Wasn't available for this fight, but you have to wonder now, with that amount of gold given over, with now the Even Shroud, very cheap, very powerful power spike for Vladdy built up, which gives some tankiness too, which the One desperately needs. Karmine Corp, they can't afford to clump like that around objectives again.
The momentum shifts one more time. That Dragon gives you time. That kills give you so much as well. And I mean, Nativz, they have an opportunity. They're not losing like they were against Matchco earlier today. We saw what happened. He even saw it in the interview with Den Voxna. He said, look, there's only so much we can do when your Nexus turrets are down. We know we can fight. We know we can do well in these situations. We just need to give ourselves more opportunities. And they are doing just that. I mean, massive props to Vladdy right now. He is being the mid-game carry that they so desperately needed.
Yeah. Now the question is, who else can add on to that performance as well? Because you can see that Seiken is still strong. Yes, he's behind in gold now. I think that's mainly because Vladdy is strong, not because Seiken is weak. In any other game, this Nico would be on par with their mid laner. Kaliss on the other side, though. 2 items, including an Infinity Edge on that Zeri. I think that makes a lot of sense. Normally go for the Navori Quick Blades when you're going to dash multiple times in a fight. The Infinity Edge is better for the immediate burst. If you're trying to escape that invade, you're not going to get to dodge that much. Shikari needs to try and dodge here. No flash this time.
Yeah, he's going to pop down the counter-strike and just get a little bit of a stun down. They get a hell of a lot of damage, but they haven't killed him off just yet. There comes Vladdy. The rest of Nativz are going to look to try and make this one work. 3-man knockup, but can Vladdy get himself out? That is the question. He's going to look for the ult. He lands on the 3. There's the steadfast press to stop him from leaving, but there's just not enough damage after he goes down. Everyone just kind of running away. They get the tango bars down, and here comes the Zeri. Gets the lightning crash. There's no way that this Zeri is going to be able to take them all out. They have to deal with the tower first. They will lose 2. They have to commit a hell of a lot on the side of Karmine Corp, but they get everything they wanted.
That's what they managed to do. They get everything in that fight. They get the tower, they get the kills, and they stop Vladdy from winning the fight once again. Karmine Corp, they were questioned quite a lot around that dragon, but it has felt like after each of these plays, they've been controlling large areas of the map. They've taken down turrets, and throughout all of this, it really does feel like Kalista is starting to really start to become a late-game insurance for them, which is getting ever and ever closer to fruition.
And look, I can't even give any kind of flack to Denvoxna right now. He just can't follow the Zeri in that position. He hasn't got any vision. He's got no way of kind of following her.
Yeah, walls.
Can't take a million-mile dash over a wall. So he makes the correct decision in the moment and just goes, right, well, I need to just take this tower, at least open that one up and trade it back.
Vladdy burns the TP for that attempt too, which is a bit of an awkward moment for Nativz. Going to go back into teleport to see how this one happens. Shikari over pushing just a little bit, and you can see, watch Zeri on the minimap, because once the fight starts in earnest, they're looking towards mid lane. Look how quickly they can reach top lane beyond this point. So they hit the mid wave once, they see the teleport, and suddenly Zeri's like, okay, I can start moving beyond this point. The fight goes so long that you think, oh, they've got to go halfway across the map. They still turn up in time. They manage to get over that big wall. And because Vladdy is not there, they don't have to be worried about that DPS. There's no real threat after this point. Kalista can come in and clean up.
Take a breath. This game is still very close. 1,000 gold at 20 minutes. Thank you very much. You know, just looking out for you. But 1,000 gold at this point in the game does not mean that much, if I'm being totally honest. You got the Anathema's chains as well built up here for Stefan, so he's going to be pretty tanky against the Zeri. Like everyone else is kind of like negated. He just needs to be able to survive against the Zeri damage. And with Dragon spawning in 30 seconds, we may have another fight on our hands. Seiken, though, this time around does not have flash. We will not have a flash pop blossom coming in to try and threaten that backline.
Whereas both solo laners of Nativz have their flashes respectively as well. Targamas not going to get chunked out too badly, but you have to really start to question Karmine Corp's positioning coming up towards this dragon. Are they going to commit to this? Are they going to pile into a choke point? Because if they do that again, that's how they lost the first time around.
Dragon on the map. Nativz in position for it for now. No real great flank wards to be coming in here for Cabochard, but they're just going to try and force it in. Dragon taking down about 6,000 HP. There goes the Poppycopter. Try and get somebody out of this one here. Will not land onto absolutely anybody. They throw out the Glacial Prison. That stops Cabochard. They're going to try and stop Vladdy from getting on the backside. They get the Glacial Prison in as well. That's stolen away. Soul point now here for K-Corp, and they've separated the fight. But have they just... Look at Denvoxna just kind of putting in DPS, putting down Feathers. Oh my God! Denvoxna sets it up on a plane, but can they finish it off? Yes, they can! Oh my Lord, Denvoxna, that was gorgeous! They still need to fight off the rest of this fight. Targamas and Cabochard are tanky. Have they got the damage to survive? They do not, and that was just an insane play from the Xayah.
That saves the fight. Vladdy was caught out at the start of it. There was a lot put onto him. Karmine Corp are really intent on stopping this Yone from impacting the fights, but then Voxna finally has some items. All of those fights they weren't at, they managed to get some farm for it instead. Importantly, then Voxna dies at the end, which means that Nativz can't take the Baron. That would have been a game-changing moment. It's still good for them. They still managed to take a good amount of gold. They lose the Dragon, that's a sad moment for them, but at least they don't give over the fight as well. Really look at how Karmine Corp are trying to stop these big engagements coming through. They just overcommit a little bit too much onto Vladdy. Yes, he gets back into the back of the pit, but Shikari is as much of a problem with Vladdy if he does get into melee range. And that is a moment of beauty which just about seals the fight for Nativz.
And the funny thing is that Kalista just kind of does the exact perfect thing. He cleanses and flashes away straight away, but they can follow up now knowing that all of his movement is down. Huge fight there in favor of Nativz, but it does still mean that K-Corp get themselves up onto Soul Point. That is an Ocean Soul, not the most impactful, but it can mean the difference in those very clean, kind of very close fights.
So let's talk about itemization. We don't have 3 items yet onto the carries of Nativz. You have a 3rd item for Kalista on this Zeri. Nativz, they don't have flashes up now. They do have themselves a Baron to burn.
Seiken can TP here onto this and has got himself a flash as well. He's going to come in. 6,000 HP, that's what they wanted. Nativz did this against the side of Matchko. They got themselves the TP and they backed themselves away. Why do you need to try and fight this when you know that you've gotten the objective for free?
Shikari was pushing in that top lane. They are going to lose some minions to the bot side tower. Karmine Corp, they're going to take themselves some vision. I don't think they can go towards a Baron start because there are double teleports up from the side of Nativz, and that's just enough to dissuade them. So, Nativz, They haven't found themselves a fight at this point. I think that's actually quite positive because they don't have flashes on everyone besides Twist. That means that your engage is not going to be as good. Seiken doesn't have a TP ward to flank to this time, or the TP summoner itself, though. So, Karmine Corp, they're not going to commit to a fight. Nativz, though, they don't get as much for that start.
Give themselves time, though. Look at the bot lane. You got Vladdy coming in to kind of push that one in. That means there's going to be a little bit of a point of pressure. You know there's no one with a teleport to match him. So Vladdy's going to be able to kind of join this fight and at a flank if he's got the right ward.
Karmine Corp would love to start the Baron themselves and do what Nativz just did to them. Try and blow the teleport on Vladdy for free. They're not going to be able to do so, though, and sadly, pushing in top lane around Baron is not nearly as impactful as pushing in bot lane, because bot lane's very far away. You can't respond as easily. That's why we're talking about these teleports being so important to come through. Wonder if Vladdy's found himself to his third item just yet. He'll be recalling this time. If he hits that third item, it would be a big point of power for him. Building it towards what looks to be a Bloodthirster, but can't complete it on this buy.
Not quite just yet. Probably building up a fair bit of gold in there. And of course, you would love to have Denvoxna get that Lord Dom's regard. Burn down through Syncroft and Cavalshard as best he possibly can. And Targamas, who's fairly tanky at this stage in the game, but I mean, it's dead even on gold. The only real advantage that K-Corp have for themselves is going to be those dragons. A minute 20 until that soul spawns. And honestly, it's not a mountain soul, it's not a hex soul, it's not instant gratification. And it feels like if you are kind of getting in these fights, the ocean soul is something you can give up if Nativz don't feel comfortable going for it.
I mean, it's still going to be strong, but is it going to be game-winning? It's not going to be game-winning if you get hit by a 4-man Fate Sealed, and then also the Counter-Strike on top of that. You're not going to survive that regardless of Ocean Soul or not. You do have a Zhonya's Forsaken, which means that he can heal while he is in Zhonya's if they do get that Soul. Might be notable at that point. This is becoming very much a battle about what's happening around this Baron as well. Nativz, as we said, managed to blow Seconds TP, still won't have that for the next objectives of the game.
Breakable has to be popped as there's a good pillar of ice to come down. Denvoxna getting very aggressive pushing forward there. Takes a fair chunk of damage there. They're going to try and re-engage onto this. Pillar of ice will be back in a couple of seconds. Dragon spawning in 30. Don't know if you're going to be able to...
That's a mistake.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mistake.
That's a mistake from Denvoxna. If you had a red buff, you could regen up. If you had a Bloodthirst, you could regen up. Can't do either, and that means the Nativz, they don't have their AD carry and nearly enough HP. Has to reset just before the dragon spawns. Might be able to use the home guard to get back in time, but Nativz won't have positioning for the objective which Karmine Corp choose to head towards.
Does have his Lord Doms, so he's going to come back and be able to do a boatload of damage. There is a stopwatch available for Shikari should he choose to use it. The dragon has spawned, but you can see there, Nativz kind of saying, look, if you want to go for this, that's fine, but we're going to get priority over this Baron. I'm still fine with them giving up this dragon if it means they don't have to kind of give up the game. Remember, this could be one of the final fights. We are 27 minutes in here. Here we go. They're going to try and catch out Targamas. Takes a fair bit of damage, has to crash down away from this one. Oh, they get rid of the Zaya. The Vox is gone, and now they might look for a 5v4. They get on top of Twist, who's just going to pop up his ultimate and try and just delay this one while they get Denvoxna in the back. They didn't quite burn him down quick enough. They turn back in. Cavalshard is not the target, though. Right between the sticks goes the Q. No Winter's Bite to be had. They're taking a hell of a lot of damage, but can they go for it? Cavalshard looks for the engage. Targamas with the ultimate. They're going to try and get the pop blossom as well, and they will take down Twitch. But now Denvoxna can start putting in work. They're going to kill. The feathers are huge, but they need to take down this Kallisti. But he's not going to go down. It's going to be a quadra kill over to him. He might want the penta, but he's just too low. 4 kills for 1, and K-Corp goes straight for the Baron.
And I thought the feathers might have solved it, but really it's the Zeri and all that gold. Oh my god, the Karmine Corp AD carry slaughters Nativz where they stand, and with the gold lead that they will build from this Baron take, with the soul that they have, Karmine Corp put themselves in the driver's seat well and truly.
Great team fight as well. They've got all the right CC down. It meant that Vladdy just had no way of getting onto that backside, and even when they did get the damage down, just wasn't enough. Denvoxna trying to just clear out what he can for the moment, but now we start to see K-Corp with a Baron. What can they do? How can they make this the final nail in the coffin?
That's a very good question, because we're going to go back to this replay and see what happened around that dragon fight. Of course, remember the reason Nativz were in this point was because Denvoxna took a bad trade and they didn't have positioning. Then he gets yeeted out of that fight by the Poppy, and suddenly a load of your damage isn't there. This is a free run at this play. Karmine Corp can say, well, we'll just take whatever damage we can get for free. It's not like Denvoxna is going to be firing feathers at us. Once he arrives back, then the HP on the front line becomes an issue. All that free damage has been given over at this point. Karmine Corp, they can start focusing down on the half-health tanks. They can stop Stefan from getting in. And that means that they just don't have the front line to allow the back line to do damage.
I mean, look, it's so close there as well. If they kill the Zeri, they can't go for the Baron. Look, a lot of if-buts and maybes. That is League of Legends in a nutshell. When we come back into live, K-Corp with a Baron, with an Ocean Soul, with 4 items now onto the Zeri. Monstrously big in this game. Level 16 as well, so going to be very, very much like just free to throw out that ultimate whenever they feel like they can take a good trade.
And on the other side, it does feel like Dinvox really needs a Vamp Scepter. Might not even need the full Bloodthirster, but the Vamp Scepter himself would have been so nice at this point because you can see how much individual trades kind of knock Xayah back. Xayah needs to be at these fights now. It's actually not been a story of Vladdy in the late game. In the mid game, sure, the Yone can carry so many of those fights with your big 1 to 2 item spikes. You need Xayah to be doing damage now in the same way that you're looking at the enemy AD carry getting quadra kills against you. Kalista is doing so much work. I don't think it's going to stop right now.
And they're looking for an ult here. They will land it onto the Trundle, but again, not exactly an ideal target. Still has the Subjugate to get a TP out from Cabochard. Shikari going to have to try and disengage from this without having his flash available. They're trying to get the steadfast presence in. Targamas goes golden. They get a good 3-man ultimate, but can they get the damage down? The feathers are going in, and this is looking good for Nativz. They may have caught the Zeri, and they have. They're looking for more. Triple kill. Anything you can do, I can do nearly as good. And Voxna keeps them in this game.
Nativz games are not really Nativz games. If you don't have a heart attack at least twice during them, they're still in this game. How much can they push through for this? They've just taken down almost all of the damage from Karmine Corp. They've taken away almost all of their wave clear as well. Vladdy teleports topside. It's not going to be an end. It's going to be some towers. It's going to be some positioning on the map. How much are they realistically going to get, though? I don't even think they can get themselves an in-him. It's going to be inner towers at best.
Yeah, it's going to be inner towers at best. I don't even think he gets this tier 2. Vladdy's going to have to be a bit more tactical about this one here. Is actually trading it back with Cabochard, and Cabochard doesn't have a flash. A tower going down. Put him in a little bit of a difficult situation, but oh my days, it's a battle of the AD carries right now.
So what the heck happens here? Kalist dies. How does that happen? Because you can see that Karmine Corp, they're looking once again to go forward, to catch out free trades onto the front line. Somehow the feathers go right on top of 3 people, makes it easy as you'd like for that Vladdy ultimate to come through as well. But I think the fact that Kalista's caught up in all of that mess, that is such a big issue. You can never let the Xayah feathers go onto the Zeri like that.
We come back to gold, basically even. This is what I was talking about. The Ocean Soul is nice, but it's not game-changing. It's not going to bring you down to a point where you're able to turn those fights around, because when you're CC'd, you're just CC'd. And when we come in, full items now for the Zeri. Still has flash, still has
email chain.
It is a terrible email chain, but I love what Dinvox is doing right now. He's going to have his flash and his cleanse available to him very, very shortly. The Elder Dragon spawning in a minute 10. He knows what is going to be his damage. He needs to be the damage. There's no point in getting a GA or anything like that. He just needs to put out DPS.
Yeah, and I think having sustain on both of the big carries here from Nativz is very important. The Bloodthirst is built up for Vladdy and Dinvox. We talked about how Dinvox getting chunked out a little earlier into the game led to one of the more disastrous fights for Nativz. Maybe that won't happen again at this point. Karmine Corp, they have a lot of people towards the spot side. They don't see everyone heading down just yet. Shikari has TP and flash, but this is a bit of a corralling from Karmine Corp.
It is. They've separated them a little bit, but you can see now Karmine Corp, they know they can't be overzealous about this one here, and I think that Shikari's going to have enough for Azanias when he goes back here. You can see him starting to start the reset here as they move forward. Oh my word! Lord, he almost gets caught out there. Does have the cleanse to keep him safe. There's the TP coming in. They're going to throw out an ultimate and try and catch out Cabochard, who immediately has to flash away. This is Karmine Corp looking shaky. This is Nativz building that momentum. They may be able to force a tiebreaker yet.
So Kalist needs to try and wave clear, rather try and sustain off of mid lane. He's trying to right now, but he's not going to have that much HP to work with. He has a GA and about a third of a HP bar.
Watch the flank, watch the flank. They've got the Jacks coming in. I don't think they know he's there. They did see some pings on him, so maybe they do. They have an idea that he's going to be somewhere around here. You can see the Zeri just sustaining a little bit, but it's not a lot. Didn't build a lot of lifesteal on his build.
If he tags someone, Ocean Soul will heal him up. But if he needs to get that right now, he's healed up a fair amount right now. What ultimate's he going to throw, Nativz?
Oh, this is a straight 50-50. The minion waves aren't going to be pushing in anything, and you can see Nativz, they're feeling stronger, they're feeling more valuable about this. They still have their flash, they still have their cleanse on Dinvox. Doesn't have his ultimate, he immediately has to flash away. Targamas tries to make the hero play, and he might be punished for it. Gets taken so low, 2-man ultimate, but it's onto the tanks. Vladdy is dead. They get on top of Galisti, he has to flash away. They get the Trundle back, but can Dinvox survive? He is the carry, he is the one who has to go for it, but the Jack, Shikari, trying to take out the support. Cabochard is tanky, and everyone just kind of backs themselves away. It's a 1-for-1 trade, but importantly, K-Corp don't have a jungler.
Okay, Boxer does have the Bloodthirster though, so he can regen off of this wave. That is absolutely huge. Syncroft, no, not alive. I was about to say no smite. He's dead. Of course he can't smite. And we're still at it. Nativz late games, baby.
Nativz late games. This is the Elder. Remember, no Dragon for K-Corp as we come back straight into the fight. They're going to see the Poppy Copter. He gets stunned. Cabochard gets stunned. He can't get it go off. And now they can look for the fight after it. It's all on the Zeri. She has to be the one to go here, but a double kill for Dead Boxna means that you have no more support. It's all on the Zeri to make this one work. They jump back in, but he's dead! Triple kill! And then that's gonna be pretty much the game. They get the Elder, but they've no waves. They have to figure it out. They have to go straight for Baron.
That's a triple alongside the triple bypass surgery. Every single person is going to need on their cardio system this time around. Den Voxner couldn't do it versus Matchko at the Nexus. He couldn't save them at that point. But in this game, to give themselves a second chance has just about managed to bring them to even kill once again. They have Elder, they have numbers advantage. Seiken is on the map and he's trying to look around for vision, but there's no way you can go into the Elder buffed up Nativz team and come out with a win. This fight lasted for so long. This is after Syncroft is already down. This is after the big fight happened beyond this point. And then Voxner, you can see how he's not positioning next to walls. He's not going to allow himself to get one shot by this Poppy in that fight. And he manages to just wail on the front line. This is the big point, though. I thought the DPS check might go in favor of Kalist. He goes over and away from most of the feathers, but the auto attack just as he goes through the wall is just enough to win the AD carry 1v1.
And I love the Denvoxna unafraid to throw out his ultimate right there to say, look, even if this doesn't kill him, this will. And that's exactly what it does right now. And I mean, look, we're beyond critical mass at this point. We are looking at nearly full builds for everybody involved. Even the junglers are getting in on it right now. There's nearly a Thornmail for 4 items here for Stefan. 36 minutes. It's a day of bangers. Most of our games have gone 40 plus.
Yeah, we still have another day of creeps to go after this.
My God, I've been on every day.
Another game after this. Buddy, they're getting their mileage out of you. These players want to stay on the rip. Well, I don't think they do want to stay on the rip for as long as possible. The Elder still in for just now. It's got to be pretty soon to drop off. In fact, I think it's just done that now. Not just quite. They're trying to push in multiple waves. Karmine Corp, they can still find and engage. Targamas doesn't have that flash. That's quite important for them. Syncroft has his ultimate to strip away one of these tanks. Karmine Corp, they just need to find a way to get someone away from this teamfight composition of Nativz.
So remember, if Nativz win, that's not it. They just give themselves a tiebreaker. They break open the base. They still have the Elder for another 10 or so seconds, and they're looking to try and go for it. There's going to be the Poppy ult to knock back Stepan, but it just kind of lands them right into mid lane and say, cool, we can take this one now. More and more structures are falling. K-Corp, what have you got in you?
Well, they don't have themselves a lot of flashes to work with. Seiken, Kalist, their carries, they don't have those flashes. Targamas, yes, he does have that Hex Flash, but he can't be the big engager either beyond this point. At the very start of the game, when we went through laning phase, the entire gold difference in individual amounts on the bottom half of your screen on that scoreboard was headed towards Karmine Corp. Look how different that is now. Nativz, they are well and truly ready to fight.
That was one auto attack onto Seiken. He can't walk up to that anymore. You can see that the Kaliste is just the one who has to clear these waves, but I don't know if he can. They're looking to make this a full, uninterrupted Baron by Magnus going on to 4, but can they kill off the Kyrings? That's the question. They will get the Zaya, they will get the GAs, and it looks like Targamas has made the play. The Magnet Storm was massive. However, they're based in tatters. I don't know if they can end the game off that. It just gives them a reprieve.
There's big death timers on the side of the NLC champions. It would see them out of this tournament if they were to lose, but I don't think with the waves in position as you're calling out, and of course the inhib towers still even being up from Nativz, that the game is going to end here. Baron is alive. Maybe they could go for an inhib and out. I think that's probably the play right now. But given how glorious that engage was, I think they would have wanted much, much more. It starts with Targamas. Targamas gets himself that huge play as soon as that flash comes back up. Then Voxner doesn't have a flash. He can't get away from the second part of the engage. Seiken spaces his ult out just long enough, so as soon as that Zaya comes back down from that ultimate, gets immediately slammed in 6 feet under.
They will pick up the kill onto Vladdy. Go back to live and see what they were able to pick up for themselves. It looks like it was not even an inhibitor turret.
Baron.
Yeah,
just Baron.
Just Baron. Actually, no, they couldn't have had Baron. Baron was unavailable for and Nativz. They get nothing. They just get to survive.
Just get to survive then, huh? Well, Karmine Corp. Yes, you're absolutely right. Gosh, I just saw the thing in the top part of my screen, top left. I was like, oh, that's up. It's been a bit of a long day already, folks, and we're not even at the end of it if this goes the way of Nativz.
This isn't even our final form, potentially.
This isn't even our final form. Gosh, losing my mind a bit as both these teams looking not to lose their tournament lives. Nativz, what more have they got? You do have 4 items in the Sejuani now. Sejuani is one of the best scaling junglers in the game as a front line. Something like that Trundle can cause them a lot of issues, so they need to be very aware of that Trundle ultimate. We have the Baron actually coming up in 1 minute and 40. The Elder coming up just before that point. Nativz is stacking a lot of people towards this top side of the map. There is not that much vision here for Karmine Corp to play with, but there are a couple of deeper wards for them to flank TP on if they want to do so. Target's no flash this time. Use it to defend this top lane tower the last time.
Yeah, they have all the flashes available and they should be able to get this one here. Just to note as well, you have no boots available for Denboxna, sold it for a GA. You don't even have a Kraken Slayer available for Glissa. He sold that for a Bloodthirster as they look to try and make this one work. You can see Cabo Shard looking more like cardboard as he tries to step up in front of these players. But while this is all happening, you have got Shikari just pushing in that mid lane, constantly applying pressure somewhere else. They've broken open all the base. The only towers they have left are on their Nexus.
Shikari being left as the person in the side lane. See that Nativz are trying to push in these waves. Karmine Corp, if they get onto Denboxna, is such a big issue for Nativz. He has the GA this time, as you've been pointing out. Kalist on the other side, full build, of course. He's been there for a little while. It is not a story of 180 carry. Let's have that quadra kill earlier in the game. He could very much put the dagger into the spine of Nativz.
Just covering this now, the Elder Drake, the second one of the game. Will be spawning. You can see they're moving in. They've got the Nico on the bot side trying to make this one work to cover off those lanes. Look at Shikari. He's got a fantastic flank. They go in. They've knocked them all up. They've knocked them all away. Oh my lord, the Poppy ultimate was huge, but Vladdy comes back in. Twitch has to flash away. Shikari goes into his Zhonya's and has to jump off it. They actually survived that. That was insane from Cabo Shard, but the longer this goes, the better it is for Nativz. They're going for a TP. They're looking for the base. They're looking for the back door. They're trying to get this one going. There's going to be Cabo Shard to TP back as well. They're just trying to get this. So much pressure, so many points they have to look for. The Elder still being taken down. We're going to go straight back in towards the line. Twist dive. Not quite sure. We need to go back towards the Elder. Here we go. Sigmund almost dead. They've caught targets. It's a support for support trade. Vladdy goes back into his shadow as they look to try and continue on this Elder Drake. 3v3. Shikari on another flank. Can he get on top of Kalisti? He can indeed. And he's going to look for it. They found him. And the GA is down. Denboxna's untouched. And they're looking to curve up and shut him down. Cometh the hour. Cometh the man. And it looks like standing strong are Nativz. They should be able to finish off the last of these kills. And Denboxna is the one to clean it all up.
Is so much blood left in the river on the bot side of the map, but Nativz hold on again. They win around the dragon again, and the NLC champions, in a record which has so often belonged to the LFL, will take at least round 1 of this day of games for themselves.
We will be going to tiebreakers. It will take a fair bit of time. Oh my god, the ultimate is good. They will, however, not have anyone to deal damage on top of Vladdy. Still has minion waves, still pushing it down. The final turret goes off. And now Denboxna, without his boots, barefooted, comes out to take down the inhibitor. 43 minutes. They'll just about do it. And they'll just about get themselves a shot at a tiebreaker. This game has been insane.
Nativz do not like to end
breath.
games early. They do not like to make sure. I mean, like I said, it's not a Nativz game if you don't have yourself a heart attack at least twice during that game. We had a little bit more than dude. I'm
actually
I'm gonna have to give myself so much honey between games to make sure that my voice box just doesn't give out. We have another game. We have another game after this because we now have both teams ending the standard group stage games at 3-3 with a 1-1 head-to-head. Matchco went 6-0. They're out in first. This is a battle for a second seed. Karmine Corp could go out in the group stage at EMEA Masters, and it would be at the hands of the NLC, the record which has so often belonged to the LFL. Karmine Corp beat 2 NLC teams in 2 of their championships in the finals. For Nativz, a team which had lower expectations than the Fnatic Rising and the BTXL back of the day, to do that in group stage, what a historical turnaround would that be?
Sorry, I need a moment. I just need a moment. I don't, yes, I'm just going to say it to my producer straight out. We do need a break first. I need to get some kind of tea or something before we can go into this next one. Those fights were incredible. Thank you so much to our fantastic producer who's given me permission to toss the break. We will see you guys very, very shortly for the tiebreaker.